Distancing. I'm here with Brendan from Slow Fin. They have a gig Friday, April 29th. Come through at 7:30 p.m. It's in New York City at the Delancey in the Lower East Side. He has a really great edge and in rock in his music. I'm going to let him take this away, tell us about himself, tell us about Slow Fin, and what he's been working on.
Yeah, thanks, Kaden. Yeah, so Slow Fin's a project started right around the, COVID first end of that first wave. And so basically, there's a project called Playoffs previously. It was pop rock, solo project I was doing. Wanted to get these pop rock songs out. Kind of like Weezer sound, and like we were doing that. And we had a practice space that we had rented out, and we were like getting ready for this first show. I think our first show was like March 21st, 2020, like that was when it was supposed to be. And so we all know what happened there. And I remember like the venue kept being like, hey guys, like we think we can still make the show happen in like just like a week, and we're like, this not gonna happen.
NBA shut down.
Right, yeah, 2 years later, we're like, we play our first show then. But so anyway, so during COVID, things got darker, as they did for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So I started doing this more riff rock and like heavy rock, and with that, I went and recorded a whole album of just like concept album, and I really got into I embraced the style, almost like the first time I embraced it as like I'm a character actor doing this style, and it's gonna have a theme, and
this is the first Slow Fin album.
This is the first Slow Fin album.
What's it called?
Cabin Fever 2 High Tides.
Because I just like kind of focus on the song. It's great that it's called Cabin Fever.
Right, yeah.
That's just a great start to kind of the elements that led you to this in the first place.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like Cabin Fever album, and so like it's based on like kind of an action movie. You could say like maybe a pirate action movie, but there's also like James Bond elements to it. But really, it's and also I always wanted to do like a second and not have a first. So it's Cabin Fever 2 High Tides. So like I always wanted to be like, all right, they'll do 2, maybe the next one will be 3, and then maybe like in 20 years maybe the prequel will come out, like Star Wars style. But yeah, so I recorded those all, a whole album with this producer Nick Starrantino at Westfall in Long Island, and it just it came out great, and put it out, and then put it out all as one album. Like that's another thing, like there's a lot of singles and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah.
It might be what I do next as a single, but I always want to have an album. Like I put this album out, I'm like, maybe my grandkids will hear this, and like be like, oh, this album, that you created.
Is this the first like recording that you put out, like kind of mass and everything, or have you done other ones before, like with other projects, or
done like EPs and stuff?
Yeah.
Me, Joe, and Dan, who but they're like these musicians that I play with. We're in a band that was called the New Orleans, and we put out EPs and singles, quite a few of them. And this one I probably did a little more promo for, probably did a little more advertising for. I think the way I recorded these was more like official, you'd say, with like a producer who really took time to help me craft the songs and mix them, really well. But yeah, I've definitely done it before, at all different levels, whether it's like a demo that I've recorded on my own, or like, sometimes you go on for just the day and like everything comes out that day.
Yeah.
Like they mixed it that day, they do so like it's just different than when you get someone who really dives into the songs, but yeah.
That's dope. So, let's dive into Cabin Fever Part 2, and it sounds like new singles and Cabin Fever Part 3 eventually. I know we'll be back for that, for sure. But before we go on, I like to do a toast. It's my shtick. So I'm gonna do a toast to the lords and ladies of music. Please guide us while we drink, and keep us safe and prosperous in our music journey. Who would you like to toast today, Brendan?
I'm gonna toast to Kurt Cobain, a guitar hero of mine. Yeah.
Kurt Cobain. How long has he been a guitar hero? Ever since Nevermind, or Back to Bleach, or?
It's probably subconscious from when I was that age, where I was like listening to this like heavy shit, but then like nowadays it's like I just respect the way you play guitar so much, especially because because
it's in Batman now. I'm kidding.
Right. Oh yeah, I haven't seen Batman, but I heard.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. Just
something in the way, right?
Yeah, something in the way. I'm gonna toast to a friend of mine. I'm gonna toast to Dan Barracuda. I mean, he's living it up right now. He has he's on Peaceful Guitar playlist on Spotify.
Yeah.
He has he does a lot of things, but I really like his I don't want to say lighter work, but the peaceful guitar stuff that he does, the Spanish style guitar playing that he does, as well as some of the more rock stuff that he does. So that's who I'm going to toast.
Yeah, he's a master. Yeah.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Is the majority of the gig that you're playing on Friday the 29th of April, is that majority just Cabin Fever Part 2, or do you guys have a few songs that you're playing from are you coming out with a single next, or is it like a single for Cabin Fever Part 3?
I think, well, that's to be determined, you know, like,
Okay.
when I did Cabin Fever 2, I was so inspired by like a certain sound. And I remember I wrote the first song, which is Bad Guys on Motorcycles, which ended up being like, this is the sound. And I have other songs, like I've made it 15 songs that were all that sound.
Yeah.
And I cut it down to those 8, you know, that were like made in the album. But that was
Wait, you went from 15 and cut it down to 8?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that, like, because I really do believe in you go big with all the shit you write. Hopefully not all the shit you record, because I know it takes a lot more time for recording.
Right.
But is that generally what you do? You go big and you have a lot of material, and then you edit and you like kind of cut it down to the core ones. Is that how you approach it a lot?
I think so, you know, because like, I don't know if it's like this for you, but whenever I write a song that day, I'm like, oh, this song's the shit, you know? It's like, this is the next single, you know? And then maybe like a couple of days or weeks go by and you're like, oh, you know, it's kind of missing a chorus really, or like, you know, it sounds very similar to this song, like so much similar that like, if I'm going to put money and resources into recording, like you only really need one of those songs, you know? So that's my experience with it, is like, usually right away, I'm like, this song's awesome. And then the ones that stick around, and I'm still like, I gotta record that song, are the ones that make the album. And by that time, usually there's like, there's extra songs. Like my Logic, I've run out of space. I had to like go on external hard drives to get like, because I have so many demos and,
Wait,
you know.
do you, I mean, I feel like, how's that process for you? Do you focus on that many songs? Because I feel like my process is, I focus on, like right now at least, I only focus on 2, maybe 3 songs. If I focus, and again, you're doing it more of an album process, so I kind of understand that. But for me, it's like, even with a single process, like if I go past 3 songs, it's like, it's too much. Like I can't, you know, I'm fucking up my scheduling or whatever to like get it done.
Yeah.
That's how many like songs you just have ready to go.
Yeah, when I went to do these I just recorded 2 singles that are still like being mixed and everything. Actually, I gotta still do a couple of pieces to them with the studio, but I showed Nick like maybe 5 songs, like the day of. I'm like, you know, I probably should have sent it to him before, but I was like, I kept, you know, being that scientist behind the scenes, like mixing things up. And
well, when you showed him 5 songs, is that like, did you not send it to him because like they were that fresh, or?
Some were that fresh.
Damn.
And yeah, some I was just like, until the day of, I'm like, I don't know which one to do. And I wanted to get his ears for it, and like, I wanted to see him react to it, because like over email, he, you know, you might think about it, and I just wanted to see like, what one is he like kind of excited about, you know? And you can only really get that from seeing it in person. And he's cool to like take that time in the studio to like, you know, he's that kind of producer. Like
that's nice. That's because I mean, I you know, we've played a little bit, but I'm sure you get a sense of, at least Daniel talked about it, but I'm very much like, I have an agenda and like, let's get this done most of the time. Funny enough, like, you came to record the show, I was like, I have people here right now, I know we're here for business, so like the first thing I asked is like, are you okay with chilling a little bit, or what's your schedule? Because like, I don't want to disrespect anyone's schedule, because I think, you know, time is just that finite asset. But back to like, I'm very much like, I'm here to get things done, and I'm trying to learn to be more flexible, like, you know, how you are with your producer, in terms of like, you know what, sometimes you just kind of have to let time just run, and there's so much value in that sometimes that I'm trying to learn to appreciate again. Like I feel like you do that so much as a kid, you just kind of like let it.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of looseness in my music. It's like Kurt Cobain, you know, we're talking about him. He's, the way he plays, it could be like almost sloppy, and like the way Nirvana played. Yeah. But then it wasn't, because they were so experienced and like they really meant it. Yeah. And so, yeah, with the songs or with recording, I think because I live my personal life very tight, you know, like at work and stuff. It's like, I'm kind of that, I am like very like on time and stuff. That when it comes to music, I like to have that be like the different aspect, where I can be like loose, and mess up, and like I like to just like play guitar where I'm just like, you know, shredding, but not like doing like intricate stuff, but more just like hitting one note and hitting it, like bending the string and like making it like, you know, kind of like sloppy like that way. But yeah,
you really play from like your heart, like, you know, just jamming with you and Slowfin a couple times. Like I really see like you just kind of you play from your heart and you don't overthink it, and I don't ever think of it is coming off as sloppy. Like I do engage with like the way that you play.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, in guitar there's so many people that are like technical and shredders, and like they have to, you know, hit a million notes like within every like beat of a song. And you know, there's people that do, you know, mix it up well, but like I appreciate it when people kind of like don't fall into that trap, because I think you try to serve the song ultimately.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, we're both artists, and like in art, you're trying to impress the audience in a way.
Yeah.
And when you can't do something too technical, then the other way to impress them is to like do what you can do, but do it with heart and do it with the soul, you know. And it's almost like if you know your box and you play within your box, you can have a lot of fun in that box.
Yeah.
If you try to overreach your box, then you're like on the edge of always like maybe messing up, or maybe like, you know, trying to do a couple extra notes that you just like maybe can hit, but like, you know, it's almost like an Olympic sport where like, you know, they're trying to do like a 1080, you know, or you could do like a 360 with style, you know, and make it look really cool. And like music, it's kind of like that way, you know.
Is there something that I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but like I feel like there are still certain things that you tend towards. Like when we played like Howl like the other day in the past few times, do you tend to like do specific things still within like the solo? Because I always try to approach, even when I do improv, like I try to kind of find like a voice, or I'm trying to do a better job of finding a voice or a melody. I feel like, at least from what I've heard, I feel like you do try to find a voice or a melody within it, but then you do kind of say, this is like the statement that I want people to be familiar with, and then this is the statement that I'm just feeling right now. Is that how you approach it?
Yeah, I think so. You know, when we were in the New Orleans, we had some songs that I never really like, wrote down what the notes were, but like I'd always just play the same notes in the solos and stuff. And I think that's really cool about music, is like I can memorize those notes in a sense, but really it's just like the feel of like, oh, I know that one feels good because I remember that last time I played it, it felt good to do that. And so let me just keep doing that. And yeah, I think that's fun to like to play those kind of memorized parts or whatever, because like, yeah, it just, whatever works. But my attachment to it is like, I don't know if I could like write it down or something too if I had to, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I remember I have like Guitar Pro, like that like software program for like tapping. I remember like writing out so many solos like growing up, and then like now I do take like the time to try to write out specific pieces that and I hear and I really like, but so much of it now for me is just like I don't maybe I don't have the time for it, or I'll figure it out when I get there. Like I already figure out so much of the structure of the song. It's like almost like let this be my free moment in my day. But do you feel like you're more like riff oriented in terms of like the rhythm riffs and everything? Is that really what you kind of tend towards?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's when you're singing, it's obviously fun to like thrash, and like I don't know if I can really riff while I'm singing too much.
Yeah.
Some of them I can, if it's a simple riff. But yeah, I like both. You know.
Yeah.
I love to play with a really good lead guitarist who can just like hold it down, and even in that, I probably still want to play some leads.
Yeah.
And I love to like just, you know, thrash on some chords and stuff. And rhythm guitar, I think, is a really like powerful instrument. You know, all of them are. All the like bass, drums, they all matter. But rhythm guitar, you can really like drive a song. You know, I think John Lennon said that, where he's like I'm a rhythm guitarist, but like I can really drive a song and really make it happen. And you see that in like their stuff. And
what's like from Cabin Fever 2? What's like the riff that stands out for you, or that you're most happy with?
Well, the Bad Guys Motorcycle riff kind of defined a lot of the other riffs that happened later.
Play it?
Yeah. So just.
That sounds like, what is it?
Yeah.
You have a really, I like your approach to how you write riffs and everything, because it's like very to the point. Like you're not fucking around. Like you create a space where I can connect with it like really quickly.
Yeah.
Like it's not, I don't have to like sort out what's going on as much. I think it's really cool. Like, I mean, even like stuff like Howl and Invitation, which I've played with you in Slow Fin, like it's just like I connect with it, especially in an Invitation, because it's just very, I don't know if it was like you had a Nirvana influence then, but it's very just going after it, just really directly. But I like that riff a lot too, and that's Motorcycle. What's the song again?
Bad Guys on Motorcycles.
Bad Guys on Motorcycles. What inspired? Why Bad Guys on Motorcycles? What's motorcycle riders? I ride a motorcycle. Why we?
Yeah. Well, it was I think it was called Showstopper at first.
Yeah.
Which was probably named after the British Bake Off, because they have like the Showstopper child. I think I was watching that at the time, and I've always wanted to have a song named Bad Guys on Motorcycles, and the theme of the album started being like this action movie soundtrack kind of theme.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just thought it was like the right song to put that title on. So Bad Guys on Motorcycles is like in every action movie, there's always bad guys on motorcycles chasing the hero. And it's just such a funny trope to be like, oh, here they come. Here's the gang of guys on motorcycles, like with their Uzis or whatever.
Yeah, no, I think your work on rhythm guitar and how you kind of construct things in your music is like really accessible, and I like that about it. Like I feel like you think about it just kind of being able to connect with people pretty easily. I feel like I overthink. Like I feel like in that same way where like you just try to kind of connect your heart to your instrument. Like I feel like I try to go through my brain too much. Like I go heart, maybe heart brain, maybe just brain to instrument, but like that direct connection of just the feel of it, like it just comes through every time, and it jams, it just rocks. That's all. It's like it just hits you pure and simple.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if this is your relationship to music, but definitely the way I've always thought about it is like it inspired me so much when I was younger. Mm-hmm. Just like hearing cool riffs and stuff.
Yeah.
And so if I could be any piece of that tree or whatever you want to call it that branches it off to the next, generation of people who play music, that would be like the coolest thing. And so accessibility is like huge for me, which is, I think and also, talent-wise, I can just do simple riffs, so like I just keep it simple. Yeah. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, it's also, rock and roll riffs are cool, and like Arctic Monkeys, like Do I Want to Know was also like a big inspiration for this album, where the first conversation I had with the producer was, I want to make like AM by Arctic Monkeys, that album, but if like an indie band, like if a small indie band made it, because they had a huge budget, obviously to make that. But it's like very riff, Are You Mine, and those songs are like just riffs, and it's cool riffs, it's fun to play them, and you don't have to be good at guitar to play them, which is kind of cool, it's like,
So do you play all the instruments on like the tracks in Cabin Fever 1, Cabin Fever 2, and then coming in Cabin Fever 3, or?
Yeah, I played, I played all the instruments except for bass, because the producer really played the bass, which my plan was to play all of them. We did drums the first day, which is a Saturday.
Yeah.
I did all the drum tracks in one day. So it was like 10 hours of drumming. And it was like the end, we didn't think it was going to do that, but like an Invitation was one of the last songs we did. It was maybe the second to last. And it's like, I'm very proud of the drums I did on that. Yeah, like I
wouldn't think that was the last one you did. I would have thought it was like, if you're doing 10 hours, I thought it would have been in the first hour, to be honest.
Right, we kind of like went in order, and like, I mean, there was no rhyme or reason to what we were doing, and then we just got to the end, like, oh, we still have to do an Invitation, and then I think True Believers might have been the last.
Yeah.
And both those songs, I think, have like really cool drums.
You finally were warmed up.
I was past warmed up, and I was like deliriously loose, and like I thought I would be sore.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. I didn't really have calluses, but it's like that in the zone, like flow state, just kind of happens. But the next day was Space Day.
Yeah.
And then I was sore. So I did like 2 songs, and I'm like, he hopped on one after like 2, and he's like, oh, let me just give it a try. And he was so good at bass, I'm like, hey man, you think you want to do
Take the
bass?
wheel,
Yeah,
take the wheel.
you kind of want to do bass for these songs, and he had some cool flavor to him too, which is great. And then he probably played some keys and stuff. We both played a little bit of keys on the record, and the rest is just me and guitars and me and vocals and backing vocals and all that. Yeah.
So with that like a kind of approach, like working with the producer, like what drew you to doing that instead of, I mean, like I know I'm kind of the type where my music budget is like normally like zero, like music, my music budget goes to guitars. fuck the actual recording, which is stupid. But how did you kind of like come up with that approach? Because I think I really respect it in terms of like, I want to make sure I'm getting live drums and all the instruments live and taking the time to record it. Was it just, that's just how you kind of see it and like the feel of it?
Yeah.
Like how do you like end up sitting down like, no, I'm actually do a budget for this and respect it in a different way?
Right. I think since I've done it, my philosophy like has been like, even if I didn't have money, I would find a way to do one song a year that like is done kind of well, because like they just do a different level to it. The story is, I was at a job, got laid off, and then I was applying to jobs, and I got into this job that paid a lot more, know. And when I got that job, I told myself, like, if I get this job, I'm gonna make a full-length album. Like, I'm gonna use the extra money. And so it's this thing we go through as artists, right? Like, you gotta pay rent, right? In New York or wherever you live,
But definitely in New York.
Right, definitely in New York, right? And usually you're working a job where people have told me when I'm stressed out, like, oh, I want to work a coffee shop or something. I'm like, I still think those jobs are stressful. And for when you're working a job and you're just making enough to pay the rent, which is like the squeeze that's going on, it's just like the times we live in. But like a lot of people just make enough to just, it sucks, because then you don't have the budget to do like, you think you want to support your art, but you don't have like you don't have the extra days or time off or like money to do it. Fortunately, with this job, I had that extra money to do this album, and so instead of like saving it or like getting a nicer apartment or anything, I'm like, I'll live with the roaches and like I'll make an album,
Yeah. No, I feel, and like that's like the toughest. That's like one of the toughest parts of like you're trying to figure out kind of how does this fit in. The time off is like a big thing to me about it. It's like when you're just like working full time and you have to kind of keep up with all your projects or whatever you're doing at work, and then you kind of finish. Like it's weird. Sometimes it's weird. Like when you talk to someone else that is just like, then like after I finish, I just go to I go out to dinner. Maybe I go to a bar. One thing I lack in is like working out consistently. Like that people's schedules are like completely different from your own, and you don't realize that everyone isn't like, I finish work, maybe I have dinner, and then I go like try to write some shit. you know? And you're like, wait, what do you do with all this time? Like, cause like I'm always just struggling to make the time to actually do it.
Yeah.
That's always funny.
Yeah, it's like people say burn the candle on both ends. I feel there's like 8 ends to the candle. It's like, well, I got to stay healthy and exercise, and I got to do meditation for my mental health, and I got to go get outside enough, and then I got to work to make the money, and then I got to also put time into my art. And like it's all necessary, And the priority is always art, but if you just try to do the music, then it's like you get burnt out on it, even,
Yeah. I mean, I think I was talking to you earlier. Maybe it was like someone else, but I got like burnt out on because of like my kind of priority of like I need to like plan things out. Like sometimes I burn myself out on like trying to just put shit on my calendar, and like sometimes I'm like, no, I gotta like remove all the shit and always just focus on the next step, because that's all I can do. That's the only thing that will bring me forward. It's not like the 40th step that I'm worried about now, which is like, I don't know, let's just say it's like promoting the album, or like that specific like social media video that you need to do to help promote the album or the gig or whatever. No, all I can really do like is what I'm doing today, which is talking to you, because like that connects me with more artists, that gets people more interested in you, that gets people showing up to your gig and everything, and being part of that sort of community is like, it's sometimes I just overwhelm myself, because like, oh fuck, I have to do like the 40th step that doesn't even matter right now because I didn't do the first 39.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, man. I think it's like a blessing, but also like a curse, because like it's like it feels like something I'm always going to do and I always want to do, and there's like I kind of have to do it.
Yeah.
And then part of that is like it's not that I just have to do it just to like, oh, like I just have to sit around and play like guitar for like, 15, 20 minutes every night. It's like, no, like this has to be, in some way, it has to be something I'm like pursuing as the thing I get to do for the rest of my life, professionally. And I think that is like the extra level that we kind of put on our shoulders. Is like I'm trying to do this professionally.
Right.
I'm trying to be Dan Barracuda.
Right. Yeah. That's it. And lately I've been trying to focus on shorter term goals to make it to there.
Yeah.
So it's like I want to sell out Arlene's Grocery or Mercury Lounge or something. And it's it's not there yet, but it's achievable. You think of it like, I do.
Are doing it, why can't I?
Yeah, I do get a little bit more following, get some stuff out there, and then you get 50, 100 people at a show. And that'd be fucking sick. That'd be awesome.
All I want to do is like, it doesn't really like even Peace Candy Store, right?
Yeah.
All I want to do is play a well-filled room. I read that in like my journal, like. Whenever I have a journal, right, there's like the general like day-to-day stuff, but in the back of my journal, like there's always like goals and priorities and purpose that I like write in the back of almost every journal I have. One of the ones I always say is like my goal with music is to play well-filled rooms, and it doesn't matter if that's 10 people. Like at Pete's Candy Store, if you have 10 people in there, you're feeling pretty good.
Right.
But like somewhere like I don't know, Madison Square Garden, 10 people, you're gonna feel like garbage.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
So as long as I can that's the goal I work towards, Jen.
Yeah. And it will happen even just from these shows we're playing, because we definitely had some shows with the New Orleans where we weren't expecting it. We brought out people, but then just every other band brought out people, and everyone was kind of there when we went on. Yeah, and it's like, oh, sick! Yeah, it's like full room, It's cool, yeah.
And but it's always like a challenge. Other people have different priorities in their life, and the same way you're talking about, like you have a set of 15 songs to record an album, and you cut it down to 8. I always think like, I need to invite like 5 times. So if it's like a 20-person, I need to invite 100 people so that 20 people show up.
For sure.
That's just what it is.
Yeah, and you gotta bug the people and be like, hey, you really coming, and like remind them. Yeah. And but you know what?
I'll get you a drink.
Right. I think when people come, they have a good time. People like seeing music. So like, I'm not just saying that because I think we're good, but like, I think it's just people are reluctant to go out to things or whatever. But then they come out and then they realize like, oh, some other friends are here, and it's like we're at this thing. And then what we do is we try to like make it a night too. We go out after and we hang out after, and like, that's where like you kind of like feel like it's part of the scene, and like there's like this thing it's cool to go to and stuff.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you. So what are some of the things in like Cabin Fever 3 or the new singles that you're playing? I think I heard one at like when you were practicing with Daniel. But what's your you said Bad Guys and Motorcycles, right?
Right.
Your favorite from Cabin Fever 2, Cabin Fever 3, or the new singles? What's one of the favorite riffs or something from that you?
The two, I'll show you the two I just did because they're very different. But like one is called Apocalypse Now. So like the last one was like action movie themed. I'm like, maybe this next one's like apocalypse themed. Okay. And it's a very like kind of upbeat song.
It's like Mad Max Fury Road, Apocalypse, or like Fallout 3.
I don't know. Yeah,
they feel very similar. Let's say, I don't know,
or like the like movie with the Seth Rogen and those guys where they had that apocalypse movie.
Yes, yeah.
Probably a mixture of that and like Mad Max. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, like so this is a simple like power chords like. It's like very Weezer, Yeah. So that's the Apocalypse Now song, which is apocalypse based song, and then the other one is. So it's like heavy punching, So that's I was talking to you before about like the mix that I'm trying with this album. The other one's very like kind of similar. This one I'm like, all right, happy song, crazy heavy song where it's like boom, you know.
Well, how's the happy song? It's a happy song's called Apocalypse Now.
Exactly,
What's the heavy song called? Like Daydreaming on the beach?
I don't know, man. So I went into the studio. We tried to record vocals for it. We got the vocals down for Apocalypse Now. It felt really good, but it was like an end of a long day recording, and that one I didn't really have anything super solid written down. This is what the producer's great for. Is he'll be like, "What does that lyric mean?" And I'll be like, "I don't know." And like, yeah, it should mean something. So like, it was kind of like nonsense lyrics, which I thought was like, oh, it's cool, it's abstract, you know. But like, he's right. Like, it should mean something, and. So I'm like back at the writing board now, and I'm almost making it like a anti-war song, you know, of like I just started writing lyrics about like
gathered in the masses.
Exactly, like War Pigs, yeah.
Is that line in your song?
No. It kind of similar to War Pigs, though, where I want to make a song about like how almost like the enablement of war, you know, when like, you know, like this whole globalization of like you're supplying like. It's great when you're defending a country that like is being invaded to supply them weapons, but this whole like idea of like there's just a lot of bombs and stuff being passed around to like because this people are on our side and these people aren't, and it's just like it's weapons of destruction, you know, and like there's not really an initiative to like take back weapons or like disarm people. It's like this whole like movement of like let's arm our friends or whatever, but I think it's just going to end in disaster, you know.
Can you remember like a line from the song that you recently wrote that like really resonated with you, or?
Yeah, it was like we'll give the guns if you do the shooting, kind of like line.
Damn, I like that. That's some like fucking Cold War Afghanistan,
right?
U.S. conflict, Russian.
Yeah, and then after that, like no need to run if you're on our good side. So like, you know, it's kind of just like it's like you know America's the boss and like.
But that's also like really that's like awesomely dark because it's like what no need to run if you're on the good side.
If you're on our good side.
If you're on our good side, like the nuances of like the subtext of like well we will fuck you up if we ever think you're not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, I mean, we all know that feeling from being a kid, you know, of this like person just being like, do as I tell you, and like, you know, and you just know as a human that that's not natural. It's like, well, you know, I should be able to live my own life, you know, and so when that, you know, that happens at that level of like war and stuff, it's crazy, but like, yeah.
Do you end up like writing a lot of political songs, or is it like just this happened to be the one that like lined?
Yeah, I think this happened to be the one because you know you hear that riff and it's like what could go with that, you know. Yeah. I try to write songs that are like somewhat cool or like it's a very generic thing to say, but like. Yeah, I don't really write too many like you know songs about a girl, you know, type stuff. I think it's fun to add that in sometimes, and I think definitely if you're doing a song that like is very poppy or like even like you know we've had songs in the past that have just been like hamming it up almost. Yeah, it's fun to add that in. Yeah. But I try to avoid cliche themes because if anyone is listening to the lyrics, it's cool to know that they're good. And one of my favorite bands, Arctic Monkeys, their lyrics are like just to me like so amazing. And so I like lyrics. It's also just an interesting thing for me to like try to write good lyrics and try to write interesting lyrics. But I don't know if anyone actually knows the lyrics, so it's cool to talk about them. Yeah,
I think people. I mean, I like to talk about lyrics. Like I always find I mean, like obviously when you're first learning how to, especially sing and play, you're probably learning someone else's song. It's not always your own song that you're learning. And there's a lot to gain from like reading the lyrics just to learn kind of how did someone structure this, how are they telling a story. I can't say specifically I've like sat down and was like very analytical about someone else's lyrics. Not recently, maybe in the past, but it's interesting that you say you try to avoid cliches because one thing I kind of talk about sometimes is I don't try to write like a lot of relationship or love songs because it's just not something that always like it's not something I always like emote. If I come across a love song, I will write it. Like I mean I have a song called Young Love. There's probably, you know, With You I Know is like another song kind of about relationships and in love, but I don't go after it. Like, and even if I do go after it, like in Young Love I say and that young love don't grow old. And the reason I say that is because like I was working with the idea of like kind of real love is kind of like young and playful and fun, and as soon as like it starts to get stale or old, like that's kind of the end of a relationship. And it's kind of like just talking about like in a way, like, if you're feeling that it doesn't feel young, it doesn't feel fun. You're not really in love anymore. You're just kind of just stagnant, and you've lost it at that point.
Yeah.
Maybe go find it again, but like it's kind of like that play on that idea a little bit.
It's cool because that feels like a reminder, to like the audience of something that they should be reminded of, you know? So that feels cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like, so one of the cliches I'm thinking of is I have almost like a rule for myself where I don't use baby in like lyrics.
That's a good
but I've broken that rule before on like a song, I think, on one of our New Orleans songs, Need to Know. But it's just like, because you could easily go there and be like, baby this, baby that, and it has that kind of feel to it. And it's almost like, it's like Chuck Berry songs and stuff where like there's like just some rock and roll cliches that end up being in songs, but it's all been done, so like
no cut me like a knife.
Right, yeah, or this like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like this, like there's just like a certain like, I think it's the difference between when you just take that extra step to like think about it a little bit more. It ends up being the difference between like something you've heard before when you're an audience member and something that's original. Whether it's like a melody or a lyric, whatever it is, just taking that little extra, like you have a good song already, and like a lot of people have that, they have that good song. Take that extra step to just like make it a little bit different, it's like progress, like it's Arctic Monkeys have done Arctic Monkeys, progress on it a little bit if you can, you know?
I was just thinking about like a thing, what's like the kind of most abstract song that you've written?
I'm trying to think.
I feel like I do there's like I will, if I sit in this room, like I'll be like red brick wall, map to my soul, because there's like a map picture in this room. And then like one of the most recent songs I've written was called Breakout, and like we have this Matisse painting in my bedroom. And it's like I think it's like a Japanese woman looking into like a pond or a river.
Yeah.
And I just started saying like, there's a painting of a girl on a wall staring at the river, and that's the first line. And then I kind of just carry that out throughout the song, talking about like, it reminds me of this you, and like how you meaning like another girl that like character in the song knows, and that they like kind of went down this long cracked road, like through whatever it is, like all the troubles that this person had in life. But it all just started for me, like I just saw a painting on the wall, and I literally just said the words that I just wrote down, because that's just the activity I was doing.
Yeah.
But it kind of came together in a song that I'm really happy about.
Yeah.
At least, and then a bunch of different ones where I stared outside and there was just a temperature reading that said 28 degrees outside.
Right.
It's not enough to freeze.
Yeah.
I just was fucking around with words.
That's cool. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the themes from my songs come from like internal analysis or something, like looking at my mental state at the time or whatever.
Yeah.
We have a song called Bedrock that was on the New Orleans. It's one of my favorite songs by them. I want to cover that one time with like the new band.
How does it go a little bit?
So yeah, it's that riff.
How did the lyrics start? How did that go?
Oh yeah. Let me see. I want to put like a little more echo on this.
Okay. Go.
Down under the bedrock, you can't sit still. It's like you never knew freedom. I doubt you ever will. So like,
damn man, like I mean, I'm happy that you changed up like the sound of it, because like I was like thinking it was like way more aggressive, but like I really like the intimacy in like the words.
Yeah. It ends, so that song with a really cool ending.
Yeah.
And maybe we like put it in, post or whatever, but like it ends like the bass starts with like dun 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 dun, and then like we start going like,
I dig it, man.
and so we all that was such a fun thing to play live, and it was a false ending.
Yeah.
Which I love doing. So like like everyone would be like, they'd be like, oh, great show, everyone, like great show, you know, and like we'd be like, oh, it's not done yet.
Not done
like,
yet. You do that in the invitation also. You do a false ending,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Why are you a fan of the false ending?
I think it's just fun for a crowd, you know.
Just to get them to feel like it's over, but it's not over yet.
Exactly. It's like it's an exciting moment. It's like our version of doing an encore, because like, you know, we're not going to do an encore, you know.
That's smart. Because I'm like shy of doing false endings, because I feel like if a song is gonna end, just let it fucking end. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But like I just shy away from it because maybe I just don't feel comfortable like playing with like someone's like ears or their expectations of a song ending. But with that, like when you play with it, like that's the fun of it. Like if you're playing like kind of this tug of war, this kind of like, you know, I guess for lack of a better term, like this romance with the audience, it kind of is like, oh, that give and take, and don't start clapping yet, or, you know, we're gonna stop you from clapping,
right?
And we're not finished with this yet. Is kind of fun.
Yeah. It's like you're playing. It's like a light-hearted joke on the audience, you know, and then they're in on it.
Yeah.
And because you're putting on a show for them, so you're like, hey, like now have fun with us in this epic ending that we're about to play.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like all that stuff is fun to do, you know, for me at least. Yeah.
So how, you know, one of the last things I want to talk about is like kind of you're in the studio, you know, you're working with a producer, you're recording your music. How do you kind of like start transitioning that to playing with a band? Because I think that's one thing that I wouldn't say I struggle with, but it's like something I think about. Like a lot of times I record on my own, and then like kind of transitioning that to a band and like opening that up. How does that like work for you? Is it like you have? I'm the person like I have tabs. I'm telling you everything ahead of time.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know it ahead of time, we have the roadmap here.
Right.
How do you kind of approach that?
I've been playing with the guys I've played with for a long time, Daniel and Joe.
So they already know. They're like, oh, we heard that song 5 years ago. We heard
right. Or maybe even not.
On the brainwaves.
But like, I bring it to them and I'm just like, I know what they're going to do with it.
Yeah.
I just expect it to be different live than it is recorded, you know?
So do you appreciate that difference a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
And because that's just, my personality type, it would be work for me to get people to do things exactly as I wanted them to do it. Because I'm like, so going to the studio, for example, the reason I need to work with a producer is because like on the first take for anything, I'll be like, or the first tone we get, I'll be like, sounds good, you know? Hey, we just did a take.
Let's go.
That take sounded good. Well, you know, okay, we're gonna do more. And so I need a producer to be like, nah, that take sucked. You know, you missed the notes or something, or like that tone is way too, you know, harsh or whatever. Yeah. So like
the tone too harsh is one. Like as a guitarist, like I feel like I'm always just like, this tone fucking rocks, and then it's like, no, it doesn't. I can't hear anything.
Right.
No articulation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. You know, it's hard to have that outside perspective. You know, so I need that, and so like I bring it to the guys, and we just make it our own, and we're gonna play it live, and then I just start focusing on the energy of the live show. You know, making it like, how can we make a good, exciting live show with what we have? It's almost like acceptance of what you have. You know, like very zen, kind of like, all right, we have these guys, we're playing it. How can we make these guys? How can we make the best show possible with these guys? And like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I play with Joe and Daniel too in the Diamond Dogs, and essentially I think about like, okay, what is I wish they smile more when they play, because like sometimes they do, and it's like, okay, they like that, because I want them to. I think when we're all expressing ourselves, especially in a live setting, to like what's making us like really happy and really vibe with what we're doing on a song, that's when like some of the best playing comes. And there's like certain things in certain songs, like where, you know, Daniel on the drums like does a specific, because he's always very specific, like he's consistent with how he plays a song, which is like sometimes weird to me, like playing with a drummer, but I like it because like I know when to like, you know, bop my head a certain way, because I know he's gonna do that, and like, you know, I'm thinking of For the People right now, like in the pre-chorus he just does a certain fill and hits it like in a specific way. I'm like, I know to bop my head that way, and it feels really cool. But in those moments, like I just like appreciate like them expressing themselves in the song, because I try to kind of, I give them a roadmap, but I'm not gonna say you have to follow this roadmap. I give it to you because if you have no clue what you want to do, right? I gave you a clue. Like, right. we're here to practice and to work together, like right now. and I don't want that time to be like wasted on like we have no idea where to go with it, you know?
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of like that. I like wild nature of bands, you know. So like, you don't have to be wild. Like, be wild, you know. Like, and we get those moments. And I think for these guys especially, it comes across in the way they play.
Yeah.
Where like, they might be like stone faced or whatever, but they're like playing pretty wild at certain times, and it's like, it's like that's where it's at. You know?
Joe sometimes with like his fills in the middle of something that like just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you for doing that. Like on the recorded version or something, like, because I'll do guitar, I'll do the bass. I normally use like a software drummer, but you need that bass perspective of they've been working on their instrument and just come with a fill out of nowhere that fits in perfectly with it, and it makes me a lot of times, if you see me like smiling while I'm playing, like I'm genuinely smiling because like, oh man, we're fucking nailing this right now.
Yeah.
Unlike the 2 hits on Warpix that we can't line up.
Right. Yeah, that's also, you bring the audience in on like, oh, they're happy about something.
Yeah.
I've seen artists where it wasn't even my genre. Like I saw this band Joyce Manor, which is like, they're more like emo kind of.
Yeah.
But the singer was so happy to be playing that I was like, that's it's fun to watch,
Yeah.
Like, and then I got into it.
Yeah.
So they're having fun, and like I wanted to have fun too with them.
When you see someone like they're having fun, right? You feel like you're part of that experience like a lot more. Like when people just seem, again, like I understand sometimes like with like a genre of music or the act of it, like to be like so stone faced, like I understand those moments, but also give me a smile sometimes. Let me know that like, I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I'm just here to listen and have a good time when I'm seeing like live music too, anyways.
Right. So what makes music cool is like it's a good energy, it's a good vibe. No matter what it is, you can go see Black Sabbath and they're kind of having fun too. In their way, and it's like, and the audience is always having fun.
I always think about like there's a picture of Tony Iommi that kind of has a grin and like doing like the rock horns, and I'm like,
right.
That's what I'm looking for. Like, you can be playing like doom metal, but like, at least let me know that you're having fun doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like the audience is having fun. It's good.
Yeah. He's having too much fun.
Yeah.
Huh? Having too much fun. All right. So is there any other like things you want to talk about? Your music, Slow Fin. Any mantras you want to throw out there?
Yeah. I think the mantra, I've been thinking about a lot lately. It's just like, I've been really inspired by seeing these like local bands really bring it,
Yeah.
And so whatever you're doing or whatever you want to do it first, and then really bring it as much as you can, and like bring it fully. And as an audience member for many of these things, like only one time I'm on the stage and the rest of my life I'm in the audience, it's awesome to see. So like I hope that's like, my mantra is like to really bring it in whatever you're doing.
Slow Fin is gonna bring it Friday, April 29th at the Delancey in New York City, 7:30 p.m. Be there. Slow Fin's gonna bring it. You better bring it. So it's gonna be a good time.
Thank you.
It was good, Brandon, and hope to talk to you again when you're talking about your releases and as your music goes on. I hope we do more of these.
Oh yeah, this is great. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks. Have a good one.
You